Sarah's hands trembled as she stared at the anonymous note on her desk. 3 words scrawled in red ink. Go back home. It was the 5th note this week. She crumpled it and threw it in the trash, her jaw clenched tight enough to hurt. 6 months had passed since she'd exposed Ji-won's conspiracy and earned her place as VP of Strategic Operations at Confrontation. 6 months since the grandmother had given her blessing. 6 months since Sarah thought she'd finally won. She hadn't won anything. She'd just entered a different battlefield. The office door opened without a knock. Choi Min-ji, Mi-sun's secretary, walked in carrying a stack of files. Her designer heels clicked against the marble floor with military precision. Min-ji had been Mi-sun's secretary for 5 years, long before Sarah fell from the sky and into his life. She was beautiful in that flawless Korean way. Porcelain skin, perfectly styled hair, tailored clothes that screamed old money. And she looked at Sarah like something dirty that needed to be cleaned up. Mr. Kang asked me to deliver these, Min-ji said in Korean, her tone just barely on the polite side of contempt. She dropped the files on Sarah's desk with a thud. Though I'm not sure why he thinks you need to review the merger documents. This level of work usually requires someone with more understanding of Korean business culture. Sarah kept her face neutral, even though her stomach twisted. She'd learned Korean fluently over the past 6 months, practicing until her accent was nearly perfect. But Min-ji always spoke to her in Korean with that special tone that said your Korean will never be good enough, because you'll never be one of us. Thank you, Min-ji, Sarah replied in perfect Korean. Please tell Mr. Kang I'll have my analysis ready by this afternoon.
Minnie's perfectly painted lipstick tenet.
She didn't like when Sarah responded in Korean. It ruined the narrative that Sarah was an incompetent foreigner riding her husband's coattails. I'm sure you'll try your best, Min-ji said, her smile sharp enough to cut. Though perhaps you should focus on duties more suited to your actual qualifications. I hear Mr. Kang's personal schedule needs organizing. That seems more appropriate for someone in your position. The implication was clear. Sarah wasn't really a VP. She was just the boss's wife playing pretend. Min-ji turned and walked out, leaving the door open just wide enough to be insulting. Sarah waited until the clicking heels faded before she let out the breath she'd been holding. Her hands were shaking again. They'd been shaking a lot lately. She opened the first file and started reading. Numbers and projections filled the pages. Within 20 minutes. Before we continue, please subscribe to our channel and let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like the video and leave a comment. Thank you. Sarah had identified a major problem with the proposed merger. The target company's debt was hidden across 3 subsidiaries, masked by creative accounting. If the merger went through as planned, Kang Corporation would inherit over $200 million in undisclosed liabilities. Her heart raced as she pulled up her computer and started building a detailed analysis. This was exactly the kind of work she was good at, the kind of insight that proved she deserved her position. But as she worked, she could hear voices outside her office. The walls were thick, but not soundproof. She caught fragments of conversation from the employees gathered near the coffee station just down the hall. Did you see what she's wearing today? Trying so hard to look professional. Doesn't matter what she wears. Everyone knows how she really got that position. Laughter. Cruel and casual. I heard she and Mr. Kang got married within a month of meeting. What does that tell you? That she's good at one thing, and it's not business analysis. More laughter. Sarah's fingers froze over her keyboard. She wanted to march out there and confront them. Show them her Harvard transcripts, her work history, the brilliant analysis she'd just completed. But she'd learned that defending herself only made it worse. It made her look defensive, insecure, like she knew deep down they were right. So she sat in her office with the door open just wide enough to hear them mock her, and she kept working. Her eyes burned, but she refused to cry. She'd already cried too much. By lunchtime, Sarah had completed a 40-page analysis of the merger, complete with recommendations for renegotiating terms. She saved it to the shared drive and sent a notification to the merger committee. Then she grabbed her bag and headed to the cafeteria. She'd been eating lunch at her desk for weeks, but today she forced herself to try again, to act like a normal employee who wasn't slowly being crushed under the weight of constant hostility. The executive cafeteria was sleek and modern, all glass and chrome with a view of Seoul's skyline. Sarah grabbed a tray and moved through the line, selecting traditional Korean food. She'd learned to love kimchi and bibimbap, had spent hours learning to use chopsticks properly. Another way to prove she was trying, that she respected the culture, that she deserved to be here. She scanned the cafeteria for a place to sit. Most tables were full of employees clustered in tight groups, talking and laughing. Sarah spotted an empty seat at a table with 3 women from the marketing department. They'd always been professionally polite to her. She took a breath and walked over. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" The 3 women looked up. For a split second, Sarah saw something flash across their faces. Discomfort. Annoyance. Then the masks came down, professional and cold. "Actually, we're waiting for someone," the woman closest to Sarah said. Her name was Park Ji-hye, and she was known for her brilliant marketing campaigns. "Oh, I can move when they arrive." "We're discussing a confidential project," another woman interrupted. "It's probably better if you sit elsewhere." The 3rd woman at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. But she didn't contradict her colleagues. Sarah felt her face grow hot. She knew there was no confidential project. She knew they just didn't want her sitting with them. But she couldn't prove it, couldn't call them out without looking paranoid. "Of course." "Sorry to interrupt," Sarah said, keeping her voice level. She turned and scanned the room again. Every table suddenly seemed full, or the occupants were deep in intense conversation, or people simply looked away when she made eye contact. Sarah stood there in the middle of the cafeteria holding her tray, surrounded by dozens of people, completely alone. "You can sit here." A male voice, speaking English. Sarah turned. Director Yoon, a senior executive in his early 60s, gestured to the empty chair at his table. He sat alone by the window, reading something on his tablet. Relief flooded through her. "Thank you," Sarah said, sitting down quickly before he could change his mind. "I saw your merger analysis," Director Yoon said, still in English. His accent was thick, but his grammar was perfect. "Exceptional work. You found the hidden debt that 3 of our analysts missed." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes at the simple compliment. She blinked them back. "Thank you, Director Yoon. I just did my job." "You do it better than most." He looked at her over his reading glasses. "And with more obstacles than most." Sarah's chopsticks paused halfway to her mouth. "I'm not sure what you mean. I've been with this company for 30 years. I've seen many talented people destroyed by office politics and jealousy. Don't let them break you, Mrs. Kang. Your work speaks for itself." He went back to his tablet, conversation apparently over. But Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. Someone saw her. Someone recognized that she was good at her job, that the hostility wasn't her fault. She ate her lunch in silence, grateful to Director Yoon for not making her eat alone, for that one moment of validation in an ocean of rejection. After lunch, Sarah returned to her office to find her door closed. She always left it open. Her stomach dropped as she pushed it open and stepped inside. Her desk was exactly as she'd left it, computer still on, files still organized. But something felt wrong. She circled the desk and sat down, trying to identify what had changed. Then she saw it. A small piece of paper tucked under her keyboard. She pulled it out with shaking hands. "How much did you pay Mr. Kang to marry you? Or did you just use your exotic tricks? Everyone knows you're a gold digger who slept her way to the top. You don't belong here. Go back to Africa." The words blurred as tears filled Sarah's eyes. She crumpled the note and shoved it in her bag with the others. She'd been collecting them, documenting the harassment, though she didn't know what she planned to do with the evidence. Tell me, son? Prove to him that his company was full of racists who hated her? What would that accomplish except make him feel guilty and her feel weaker? Her phone buzzed. A message from Mi-sun. Stuck in merger meetings all afternoon. Might be late tonight. Love you. Sarah typed back. No problem. Love you too. Short and simple. Nothing about the note or the cafeteria incident or the constant low-grade humiliation that was grinding her down day by day. She threw herself into work instead. That was the only place she had any control, any power. By 5 p.m., she'd prepared analysis for 3 different projects, identified cost-saving measures in 2 departments, and caught an error in a supplier contract that would have cost the company millions. She sent everything to the relevant departments and copied Mi-sun on the emails. Look at me, she wanted to scream. Look at how valuable I am. Look at how much I contribute. I earned this position. But she knew it didn't matter. She could be the most brilliant VP in the company's history, and they'd still whisper that she only got the job because she was sleeping with the CEO. At 6 p.m., most employees started leaving. Sarah stayed at her desk, pretending to work but really just avoiding going home to an empty penthouse. Mi-sun had been working late almost every night for the past 2 weeks, dealing with the merger negotiations. They barely saw each other except for rushed breakfasts and occasional late dinners where they were both too exhausted to do more than exchange basic updates about their days. Sarah missed him. Missed the man who'd caught her when she fell, who'd looked at her with such intensity, who'd told her he was falling in love with her. That felt like a lifetime ago. Now they felt like roommates who happened to share a last name and occasionally a bed. Her computer pinged with a new email notification. The subject line made her blood run cold. Regarding security breach investigation. Sarah's hands trembled as she opened it. The email was from the IT security department, informing her that several confidential files had been accessed using her login credentials and downloaded to an external device. Files related to the upcoming merger, pricing strategies, and proprietary technology. The company was launching an internal investigation to determine if the breach was accidental or intentional. Her access to certain systems would be temporarily suspended pending the investigation. Sarah read the email 3 times, her heart pounding harder with each pass. She hadn't accessed those files. Hadn't downloaded anything. She was meticulous about security, always logging out, never leaving her computer unattended. Except, she'd left her office for lunch today. Someone could have come in while she was gone, used her computer while it was still logged in. Someone was framing her. Sarah's mind raced. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was career-ending. If they believed she'd leaked confidential information, she'd be fired, possibly charged with corporate espionage. And with her past, she stopped that thought. Nobody knew about her hacking history. Only Mi-sun knew. Her past couldn't be used against her because nobody else knew it existed. Unless someone had been digging into her background. Unless someone had found out. Sarah grabbed her phone and called Mi-sun. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. He was probably still in the meeting with his phone off. She sent a text. Emergency.
Call me as soon as you get this.
It's important. Then she sat back in her chair and tried to think rationally. Who would frame her? The obvious answer was Min-ji. The secretary had made her hatred clear from day one. But did Min-ji have the technical skills to hack into Sarah's account? Or the access to get into her office? Sarah pulled up her computer's activity logs. She had just enough security clearance to see her own access history. Her eyes scanned the list of files and timestamps. There, at 1:15 p.m. today, right when she'd been eating lunch with Director Yoon, someone using her credentials had accessed merger files, pricing databases, and technology patents. All downloaded to a USB drive connected to her computer. But Sarah could see something else in the logs, something the investigators might not notice. The mouse movements and typing patterns were all wrong. Sarah typed at over 90 words per minute, with specific patterns and shortcuts, she always used. Whoever had accessed her computer today typed slowly, hunting and pecking. They'd used the mouse to navigate instead of keyboard shortcuts. It was subtle, but it was proof that someone else had been at her computer. Relief flooded through her. She had evidence that she'd been framed. She took screenshots of the activity logs, emailing them to her personal account. Then she started digging deeper, looking at security camera logs to see who'd enter her office during lunch. That's when she found it. The security cameras on her floor had been disabled from 12:50 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. today. 40 minutes of blank footage, right during the time frame when someone had used her computer. That wasn't a coincidence. That was planned. Coordinated. This wasn't just Min-ji acting alone. This was bigger. Sarah's phone buzzed. Not Mi-sun, but an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Don't say anything," a woman's voice whispered in Korean. "Just listen. You're being set up by people more powerful than you realize. Check the executive calendar. Look at who had access to your office today. And whatever you do, don't trust Min-ji or Director Choi." "Who is this?" Sarah demanded. "Someone who's watched this company destroy good people for too long. You're brilliant, Mrs. Kong, and that makes you dangerous to certain people. Watch your back." The line went dead. Sarah sat frozen, her mind spinning. Director Choi? She'd heard that name before. Executive Director Choi Sun-mi, a woman who'd been with Kong Corporation for 15 years. A woman who'd been passed over for VP when Sarah was appointed to the position. Sarah pulled up the executive calendar, her hand shaking. There it was. Director Choi had a meeting scheduled in the conference room on Sarah's floor at 1 p.m. today. Right when the security cameras went down. Right when someone accessed Sarah's computer. She kept digging, pulling up more information. Director Choi had applied for the VP of Strategic Operations position before Sarah was hired. She'd been the internal favorite, with years of experience and connections throughout the company. Then Sarah appeared out of nowhere, married the CEO, and took the job that Choi had spent 15 years working toward. Jealousy. That's what this was. Not just Min-ji's petty resentment, but serious corporate sabotage driven by jealousy and rage that a foreign woman with no history in the company had leapfrogged over qualified internal candidates. Sarah needed to tell Mi-sun. Needed to show him what she'd found. She tried calling again. Still voicemail. She checked the time. 7:30 p.m. His meeting should have ended by now. Where was he? She gathered her evidence, screenshots, logs, analysis, and saved everything to an encrypted cloud drive. Then she shut down her computer and grabbed her bag. She'd go find Mi-sun, show him everything, figure out their next move together. The office was mostly empty now, just a few stragglers working late. Sarah walked quickly toward the elevators, her heels echoing in the quiet hallway. She pressed the button and waited, her mind already rehearsing how she'd explain everything to Mi-sun. "Leaving early, Mrs. Kong?" Sarah jumped and turned. Director Choi stood behind her, having appeared from nowhere. She was in her early 40s, attractive and polished, wearing a power suit that probably cost more than Sarah's monthly salary used to be. Her smile was pleasant, but her eyes were cold. "Just heading home," Sarah said carefully. "It's been a long day." "I imagine it has been, particularly with that unfortunate security breach investigation." Director Choi stepped closer. Such a serious accusation.
Corporate espionage.
If proven, it could mean criminal charges. Deportation, certainly. Sarah's pulse quickened. "I didn't do anything wrong." "Of course not." Director Choi's smile widened. "But perception matters more than truth in situations like these. And the perception is that you're an outsider who married her way into a position she isn't qualified for. When confidential information leaks and the evidence points to you, well, people will believe what they're already inclined to believe." "I have proof I was framed," Sarah said, her voice stronger than she felt. "The access patterns are wrong. The security cameras were disabled. Technical details that could be explained away." Director Choi examined her manicured nails. You're very smart, Mrs. Kang. Everyone acknowledges that. In fact, that's part of the problem. You're too smart. You make recommendations that show up people who've been here for decades. You solve problems that make our analysts look incompetent. You're brilliant, and that makes you very dangerous. So, you're trying to destroy me because I'm good at my job? I'm protecting my position. I've given 15 years to this company. 15 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, sacrificed relationships. I earned the VP position. Then you appeared out of nowhere and took it because you happened to literally fall onto the CEO's car. Director Choi's pleasant mask cracked, showing real anger underneath. Do you know how humiliating it was? Having my colleagues ask if I wasn't good enough? Having people whisper that I must have done something wrong if the position went to a complete stranger. I'm sorry you feel that way, but destroying my career won't change what happened. No, but it will open up a VP position for someone more suitable. Someone Korean. Someone who understands our culture and doesn't need everything explained like a child. Director Choi stepped even closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You should have stayed in America, Sarah. You don't belong here. You'll never belong here. And the sooner you accept that and leave, the easier this will be for everyone. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. Sarah stepped inside and pressed the button for the executive floor where Mi-sun's office was located. As the doors closed, she saw Director Choi watching her with that cold smile. Sarah's hands were shaking so badly she had to grip the elevator railing. She pulled out her phone to try Mi-sun again, but before she could dial, a text came through from that unknown number. Don't go to his office. Trap. Meet me in parking garage, level B3, northeast corner. Trust me. Sarah stared at the message. Trust a mysterious caller who wouldn't identify themselves? That was insane. But staying and facing whatever trap Director Choi had set up didn't seem smart either. She pressed the button for B3. The parking garage was dimly lit and mostly empty this late in the evening. Sarah's footsteps echoed as she walked toward the northeast corner, every nerve on alert. This could be a trap too. This could be where everything ended. A figure stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. A woman in her 30s, wearing glasses and a conservative business suit. Sarah recognized her. One of the analysts who'd been polite but distant, never hostile but never friendly either. Her name was Lee Mi-kyung. Thank you for coming, Mi-kyung said in English. I know you have no reason to trust me. Then why should I? Because I've been where you are. 3 years ago, I reported harassment and got accused of making false claims to cover up my own incompetence. They destroyed my reputation, demoted me from senior analyst to junior analyst, and I've been slowly rebuilding ever since. Mi-kyung pushed her glasses up. I saw what was happening to you, and I couldn't stay silent again. Why help me now? Why not before? Because before, it was just harassment. Mean notes and social exclusion. Terrible but not career-ending. This is different. Director Choi and Min-ji have been planning this for weeks. They're not just trying to make you quit. They're trying to destroy you completely. Sarah's stomach dropped. Min-ji is working with Director Choi. Min-ji is in love with Mi-sun. Has been for years. She thought if she was patient and perfect, he'd eventually notice her. Then you appeared and married him within a month. She hates you more than anyone. Mi-kyung pulled out a tablet. I've been documenting everything. I have recordings of Director Choi and Min-ji planning the frame-up. Photos of Min-ji accessing her office during lunch. Evidence that they bribed the security guard to disable the cameras. She handed the tablet to Sarah. On screen was video footage from what looked like a hidden camera. Sarah watched as Min-ji and Director Choi sat in a coffee shop, their heads close together, clearly plotting. The audio was scratchy, but understandable. The security breach investigation will be the final nail, Director Choi said. Combined with all the other complaints about her competence, the board will demand her removal. Mi-sun can protect her from social pressure, but he can't protect her from allegations of corporate espionage. What about the grandmother? Min-ji asked. She seems to like Sarah. The grandmother respects results and loyalty. When presented with evidence that Sarah betrayed the company, she'll turn on her. Family loyalty only goes so far when money is involved. Sarah's hands clenched around the tablet. Hearing them plot her destruction so casually, so confidently, made rage burn through her veins.
There's more, Mi-kyung said.
She swiped to another video. This one showed Min-ji entering Sarah's office during lunch, sitting at her computer, and deliberately downloading files while looking around nervously. This is proof, Sarah breathed. This proves I was framed.
Yes.
But it also raises questions. How did I get this footage when the security cameras were disabled? I'd have to explain that I installed hidden cameras without authorization, which is itself a violation. The evidence might not be admissible. Mi-kyung took the tablet back. That's why I haven't gone to management yet. I need to figure out how to present this without destroying my own career in the process. So, what do? You fight smart. Don't confront them directly. They're expecting that, and they're prepared. Don't run to Mi-sun for protection. That makes you look weak and dependent. You need to be strategic. Find allies. Gather your own evidence through legitimate means. And most importantly, you need to be so good at your job that no accusation of incompetence can stick. Sarah laughed bitterly. I am good at my job. I'm brilliant at my job. But they don't care. They've already decided I only got the position because I married the CEO. Then prove them wrong. The merger analysis you did today, that was exceptional work. The grandmother will see it. She notices everything. Keep doing work like that. Keep being undeniably excellent. And when Choi makes her move, you'll have a track record that proves the accusations are baseless. And in the meantime, I just endure the harassment, the racism, the constant attacks. Mi-kyung's expression softened. I know it's not fair. I know it's exhausting. But fighting them on their terms, with their weapons, won't work. They're better at office politics than you are. They've been playing this game their whole lives. You need to change the game entirely. Sarah wanted to argue, to rage against the unfairness of it all. But she knew Mi-kyung was right. She couldn't win by playing their game. Why are you helping me? Sarah asked. Because you remind me of who I used to be. Brilliant and naive, thinking competence and hard work would be enough. They weren't enough for me, and they won't be enough for you. But maybe together, we can change things. Maybe we can make this company slightly less toxic for the next woman who doesn't fit their narrow definition of acceptable.
Mi-kyung gadustet her glass.
Plus, your merger analysis today? That was the kind of work I dream of doing. You're wasted on these people. I'd rather see you succeed than watch Director Choi get rewarded for sabotage. Sarah felt tears threaten again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. She wasn't completely alone. She had at least one ally.
Thank you, Sarah said.
Truly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Choi is patient and connected. She won't give up just because her first attempt failed. And Min-ji is obsessed. She'll keep attacking as long as you're married to Mi-sun. Mi-kyung pulled out a business card. This is my personal number. Call me if you need anything. And Sarah? Be careful who you trust. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Mi-kyung left, disappearing into the shadows of the parking garage. Sarah stood there for a long moment, processing everything. Then she pulled out her phone and finally, Mi-sun called back. Sarah, I'm so sorry. The meeting ran late and my phone died. I just saw your messages. What's the emergency? Sarah opened her mouth to tell him everything. The investigation, the frame-up, Director Choi's threats, all of it. But something stopped her. She heard Mi-kyung's words, "Don't run to Mi-sun for protection. That makes you look weak and dependent." "It's okay," Sarah heard herself say. "It can wait until you get home." It's not an emergency anymore. Are you sure? You sounded upset in your text. I'm sure.
Just a long day.
When will you be home? Probably another hour. I have to review some documents first. But I'll be there soon. I love you. I love you too. Sarah hung up and stared at her phone. She'd just lied to her husband. They'd promised to be a team, to face everything together, and she'd just shut him out. But she couldn't shake the feeling that Mi-kyung was right. If she ran to Mi-sun every time something went wrong, she'd never prove she could handle this position on her own merit. She drove home in a daze, her mind spinning with plans and strategies. By the time she reached the penthouse, she'd made a decision. She would fight, but she'd fight smart. She'd document everything, build an undeniable record of excellence, and when Director Choi made her next move, Sarah would be ready. The penthouse was dark and empty. Sarah changed out of her work clothes and into comfortable pajamas, then made herself tea. She sat on the couch with her laptop and started compiling evidence. Every note she'd saved, every instance of harassment she could document, every brilliant analysis she'd completed. She created a timeline, a record, proof of both her competence and the campaign against her. Hours passed. Sarah lost herself in the work, in the familiar rhythm of building a case, organizing evidence, finding patterns. It reminded her of her hacking days, that same focus and intensity. She'd been good at finding secrets, at uncovering hidden truths. Those skills were coming in handy now, even if she was using them for legitimate purposes. She was so absorbed that she didn't hear Mi-sun come home, didn't notice him standing in the doorway of the living room, watching her work with a concerned expression. Sarah? She jumped, nearly dropping her laptop.
Oh, hi.
I didn't hear you come in. Mi-sun crossed the room and sat beside her. He looked exhausted, his tie loosened and his hair disheveled from running his hands through it. It's almost midnight. What are you working on? Sarah hesitated. She'd already lied once tonight. Lying again felt wrong. But telling the whole truth felt dangerous, like admitting weakness. Just organizing some files, she said. You know how I am. Can't sleep until everything is properly documented. Mi-sun looked at her laptop screen. She'd forgotten to close the document. A detailed timeline of every harassment incident, every note, every microaggression. His expression changed as he read, transforming from tired to furious in seconds. Sarah, what is this? Why are you documenting? He stopped, his jaw clenching. How long has this been going on? Mi-sun, it's fine. I'm handling it. It's not fine. His voice rose. You've been being harassed for months and you didn't tell me? Why would you hide this? Because I needed to handle it myself. Because if I run to you every time someone is mean to me, I'll never prove I can do this job on my own. Sarah closed the laptop. You can't protect me from everything. I can try. I'm the CEO. I can fire people who harass my employees. And then what? Everyone says I only kept my job because I'm sleeping with the boss? That I can't handle criticism? That I need my husband to fight my battles? Sarah stood up, pacing. Don't you see? Any protection you give me just proves their point. That I'm not qualified, that I only have this position because of you. That's not true. You're brilliant. Your work is exceptional. My work is irrelevant if everyone believes I'm just the boss's wife playing pretend executive. Sarah's voice cracked. I can't win, Mi-sun. No matter what I do, no matter how good my analysis is, no matter how many problems I solve, they'll always see me as the Black American who seduced the CEO to get ahead. Mi-sun stood and pulled her into his arms. Sarah resisted for a moment, then collapsed against his chest, all the stress and fear and exhaustion of the day finally overwhelming her defenses. She cried while he held her, great heaving sobs that had been building for months. I'm sorry, Mi-sun whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry. I thought giving you the VP position would give you power and respect. I didn't realize it would make you a target. It's not your fault. You didn't create the racism and jealousy. You didn't make Minji hate me or Director Choi resent me. Sarah pulled back to look at him. But I need to fight this battle my way. I need to prove I earned this position. Can you understand that? I understand. But Sarah, there's something you need to know. The security breach investigation. That's serious. The board is demanding answers. If they believe you leaked information, I won't be able to protect you even if I wanted to. I know. That's why I'm building my case. Sarah picked up her laptop again. I have proof I was framed. The access patterns are wrong. The timing coincides with security cameras being disabled. But I need more. I need to prove who actually did it and why. Mi-sun took the laptop from her and set it aside. Tomorrow. We'll deal with this tomorrow. Tonight, you need sleep. You're exhausted. He was right. Sarah felt like she could sleep for a week. But even as Mi-sun led her to their bedroom, even as she curled up against him and finally felt safe for the first time all day, her mind kept spinning. Director Choi's cold smile. Minji's hatred. The anonymous notes. The investigation that could end her career. Tomorrow, she would fight. Tonight, she would let herself be held. Sarah woke up at 5 a.m., her mind already racing. Mi-sun was still asleep beside her, his arm draped across her waist. She carefully extracted herself from his embrace and padded quietly to the kitchen. Coffee first, then strategy. She needed to think clearly, to plan her next moves with the precision of a chess master. Director Choi and Minji had made their opening gambit. Now it was Sarah's turn. She made strong coffee and opened her laptop at the kitchen table. The sun was just starting to rise over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Beautiful and indifferent to her problems. Sarah pulled up her evidence files and started cross-referencing everything. The security breach happened at 1:15 p.m. The cameras went down at 12:50. Director Choi had a meeting on Sarah's floor at 1 p.m. Minji had access to Sarah's office as Mi-sun's secretary. The pieces fit together perfectly, but she needed something more. Something that would prove the conspiracy beyond doubt. Her phone buzzed. A text from the unknown number, Mi-kyung's secret contact. Check your company email. They're moving faster than expected. Sarah's stomach dropped. She logged into her work email and found a message sent at 4:30 a.m. Subject line, mandatory meeting regarding security investigation. All VPs and executive directors were required to attend a meeting at 9 a.m. in the main conference room. The security team would present findings about the data breach and recommend disciplinary action. They were going to fire her. Today. In front of all the executives. A public execution designed to humiliate her and send a message to anyone else who didn't fit their mold. Sarah's hands clenched around her coffee mug. No. She wasn't going down without a fight. If they wanted to play hardball, she'd show them what a former hacker could do when she stopped playing nice. She opened a new document and started typing furiously. She had 4 hours until the meeting. 4 hours to build a case so airtight, so thoroughly documented, that they couldn't dismiss it. She pulled up the activity logs again, this time digging deeper into the metadata. Every file access left digital fingerprints, IP addresses, device IDs, even mouse movement patterns. Sarah had been studying cybersecurity for years. She knew exactly what to look for. There. The USB device that downloaded the files had a unique identifier. Every USB drive had one, like a serial number. Sarah traced it through the system logs and found something interesting. That same USB device had been used on Minji's computer 3 days ago. And 2 weeks ago. And a month ago. It was Minji's personal drive, probably one she used to transfer files between work and home. Sarah took screenshots, documented everything. But she needed more. She needed to prove that Minji had deliberately accessed Sarah's computer, not that someone had stolen Minji's USB drive. She checked the physical access logs, who had used their key card to enter and exit Sarah's office that day. Most VPs had electronic locks tied to their key cards for security. Her heart raced as she pulled up the data. At 1:05 p.m., Minji's keycard had been used to unlock Sarah's office door. She'd been inside for exactly 18 minutes. Then she'd left at 1:23, 3 minutes after Sarah had returned to her floor from lunch. Got you, Sarah thought. The satisfaction was sweet but brief. She still had to present this evidence in a way that didn't reveal her own hacking expertise. She couldn't let anyone know about her past, couldn't give them ammunition to use against her. You're up early. Sarah jumped. Mi-sun stood in the kitchen doorway, wearing only pajama pants, his hair messy from sleep. Despite everything, despite the stress and fear, Sarah felt a flutter in her chest. 6 months of marriage, and he still made her breath catch. Couldn't sleep, Sarah said. There's a meeting at 9. About the security breach. Mi-sun's expression darkened. I know. I got the notification too. The security team briefed me yesterday. Sarah, the evidence they have is fabricated. I know. Sarah turned her laptop so he could see.
Look.
The USB device identifier matches Minji's personal drive. The key card access shows she was in my office during the breach. The typing patterns are all wrong for me. I can prove I was framed. Mi-sun studied the screen, his expression unreadable. How did you get this information? These logs require executive security clearance. Sarah hesitated. This was the moment. She could lie, could claim she requested the information through proper channels. Or she could tell the truth and trust that Mi-sun would understand. I accessed them myself, Sarah said quietly. I have the security clearance as a VP. I just used it to investigate my own case. That's not what I mean, and you know it. Mi-sun's voice was careful, controlled. These activity logs, the metadata analysis, the USB device tracking, this is expert-level digital forensics. How do you know how to do this? Sarah took a breath. Remember when I told you I came to Korea for a fresh start? I didn't tell you everything about what I was starting fresh from. She told him then, about her years as a hacker, working in the gray areas of legality, about the jobs she'd taken, the systems she'd breached, the information she'd sold, about the arrest in Australia, the charges, the lenient sentence that came with the condition that she never hack again, about how she'd moved to Korea to escape her reputation, to build a legitimate career as a translator, to be someone her nephew could be proud of. Mi-sun listened in silence. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You lied to me, he finally said. I omitted information. There's a difference. Is there? Mi-sun's jaw clenched. We promised honesty. Complete honesty. That was supposed to be the foundation of this marriage, fake or real. I was protecting myself. And protecting you. Sarah stood up, facing him. If people knew about my past, they'd use it against both of us. They'd say you knowingly hired a criminal. They'd question your judgment. I was trying to keep you safe. By lying. By surviving. Sarah's voice rose. You want complete honesty?
Fine.
Yes, I was a hacker. Yes, I broke laws. Yes, I did things I'm not proud of. But I was also desperate and brilliant and trapped in a life that was slowly killing me. So I used my skills to survive, just like I'm using them now to survive your company's attempt to destroy me. Mi-sun ran his hands through his hair, a gesture Sarah had learned meant he was stressed and trying to think. If this comes out during the investigation, it won't, because I'm going to present this evidence as if I requested it through normal channels. I'm a VP. I have the clearance. No one needs to know how deep I dug or what skills I used to interpret the data. Sarah.
No.
Sarah cut him off. You don't get to be disappointed in me right now. You married me knowing I jumped off a building. You married me knowing I was desperate enough to accept a contract marriage with a complete stranger. Did you really think I got through life without making hard choices? Without using every advantage I had? I thought you trusted me enough to tell me the truth. I trust you. But trusting you doesn't mean putting you at risk. If my past comes out, it hurts you as much as me. I was protecting both of us. They stared at each other across the kitchen, the first real crack in their relationship showing. Sarah felt tears threatening but refused to let them fall. She didn't have time for emotional breakdowns. She had a meeting in 3.5 hours that would determine her entire future. Mi-sun's phone rang, breaking the tension. He answered in Korean, his voice clipped and professional. Sarah watched his expression change from angry to concerned to furious. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, he said, then hung up. He looked at Sarah. That was the security team. They've moved the meeting up to 8 a.m. They say they have new evidence that requires immediate action. Sarah's blood ran cold. What new evidence? They wouldn't tell me over the phone. But Sarah, if they found something else, something that ties you to the breach more directly. There is nothing else because I didn't do it. Sarah grabbed her laptop. I need to get to the office. I need to prepare. We'll go together. I'll drive. The drive to Kang Corporation was tense and silent. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities. What new evidence could they have? She'd been so careful, always logged out properly, never accessed anything inappropriately. Unless they'd fabricated more evidence. Unless Director Choi had been busier than Sarah realized. They arrived at the building at 7:15. Already, lights were on throughout the executive floors. People were arriving early, drawn by the drama, eager to watch Sarah's downfall. Mi-sun parked in his reserved spot, and they rode the elevator up together, not touching, the silence between them heavy with unspoken words. Whatever happens in there, Mi-sun said as the elevator climbed, I want you to know I don't regret marrying you. Even if you lied, even if this all falls apart, you saved Marcus. You stood up to my family. You've been braver than I ever was. Sarah felt tears finally spill over. I'm sorry I didn't tell you everything. I wanted to. I know. Mi-sun finally took her hand, squeezing gently. We'll deal with the past later. Right now, let's focus on surviving the present. The elevator doors opened onto chaos. Employees rushed back and forth, their faces excited and nervous. Sarah caught fragments of conversation as she walked toward the conference room. I heard they have security footage. Caught her red-handed. Always knew she was a fraud. Sarah kept her head high, her expression neutral, even as every word felt like a knife. Mi-sun stayed beside her, his presence a silent statement of support. They reached the conference room to find it already full. All the VPs, all the executive directors, the security team, and the grandmother sitting at the head of the table like a judge about to render verdict. Director Choi sat near the grandmother, her expression professionally concerned, but her eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Min-ji stood against the wall, her role as Mi-sun's secretary giving. Dear listeners, are you enjoying this story? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think will happen next. Will Sarah be able to prove her innocence? Can she survive in a workplace determined to destroy her? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for part 4 where the tension reaches its breaking point. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next part.